Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my humble home here in Livingston, Montana. Okay, today's date is April 1st of 2021, meaning April Fool's Day, but I got news for you folks. The only damn fool that you're looking at for April Fool's Day is me. I'm just kidding. And while I'm thinking about it, if you hear a bunch of background noise, it's because the wind out here is blowing 110 miles an hour. Just cracked me up. I just got them coming back from Boren, Montana. It's all calm over there and all that. And you get over here to Livingston, wind blowing 60 miles an hour. And yet, Livingston and Bozeman are only 35 miles apart. Just cracks me up. All right, I'm not here to talk about that. What I'm here to talk about for a few minutes, this may not mean anything to a lot of people, but there might be a few people that get something out of this, and that is how to get in to a bass guitar, something similar to this, without robbing the bank, without having to take a second mortgage out on your home, without selling your firstborn child, or without putting your vehicle in hock, or whatever have you. Because the simple fact of the matter is, when it comes to these bass guitars, some of these companies, they want a fortune. I mean, I think some of these companies want way too much money for their products. When you start getting up there $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, the average person, the average musician wannabe, bass player wannabe, can't afford it. With all the sincerity in the world, I recommend to people that are starting out playing bass and everything, do not buy a real super expensive bass. Now, why do I say that? Because first of all, you may not take to the bass. You may just kick it underneath the bed, and there you go. You've got a real expensive bass, and you're not playing it, and you might be forced to sell it, and you'll never get back out of it what you paid, especially if it's a real high-end bass. Now, I'm not gonna get into all the names, because you guys and gals know what I'm talking about. All you got to do is just look, and sum it up and look at the price tag. There's no use in me just going, okay, this company will rip you off, this company's too expensive, and all that kind of stuff. But what I'm sitting here to tell you is this. Okay, when it comes to these basses, this was a very cheap bass. I did a 20-minute sit down on this bass a couple of videos ago, and I'm not going to get into that. I'm just holding this just for the heck of it, But I paid $430 for this bass, and it actually surprised the ever-loving crap out of me. I figured this thing would be rattly, not have very much tone, and all that. This is a jazz bass, by the way, and boy, did I get surprised. This sounds pretty doggone good. I even did a sound video so far since I've had this, and I did a tuning video, but it's all in the same video as the last video I did. Okay, but I thought I made a few comments a video or two ago about, not spending a lot of money, on these basses and stuff like that, especially when you're first starting out, because there's a few drawbacks. You want to see if you take that instrument, okay? Because the reality is, probably the most expensive thing that goes in these basses is good wood. Because if you go into a lot of these music stores and stuff, they're going to say, oh, this has got ash in the body, this has got walnut, this has got, and all that kind of stuff, which is all well and good. Yes, these specialized, expensive woods and all that absolutely contribute to the tone and all that, but you're going to get dinged for this, So what I thought I would do, rather than sitting here talking about the mechanics of a bass and all that, is just, I've done some research in the last 24 hours and stuff like that. Not only that, but I've also got experience. In my life, I'm almost 70 years old. I bought at least a dozen basses, something like that. And so I compiled a list of the top 10 cheapest basses that I figure is probably worth owning. I used some research on the internet. I used some websites and different things like this to come up with this list. But some of these basses on this list I have owned before, so I can speak up for them. Some of them I haven't. You know what I mean? So I'm mostly talking to the beginning bass player. I don't care if you're old, young, or whatever have you. Just whatever you do, don't think that if you're just starting out, don't think that you need a real expensive bass. You don't. You know, I would wait until you know doggone well you're an intermediate player, a good player, or whatever have you, then go out and get you a more expensive bass or whatever. Because by that time, you'll probably know what pickup configurations you want, what type of a neck you like, you know, what type of wood you want in the body, and stuff like this, you know. Okay, I hope that made sense. Now, this particular bass right here, I don't know if I said this, and this sometimes my short-term memory loss gets to bother me. I repeat myself a lot, but I get $430 for this bass right here, and it surprised the ever-loving crap out of me because it's got a pretty punchy tone. It's got a tone that I like. It's not muddied up. It's not a dirty tone like they say, or a muddy tone or whatever. I mean, it's pretty doggone punchy. This is a Squire by Fender, okay? An overseas Fender. All right. But anyway, okay. But when it does come to pickups, I'm going to say this much. I like a PJ configuration. If I was just going to go out on the open market and buy me some, either a jazz bass or a PJ, meaning a bass with precision pickups in it, and in a jazz pickup. That's what PJ means, precision and a jazz pickup, all right? Okay, but other than that, you're really gonna, probably the best piece of advice I could give young people starting out is go down to your local music store and thump around. They'll usually let you play, especially cheaper basses and stuff like that, to get that sound that you might be looking for. Because that's always what my problem has been in the past, is I get hold of a bass and I ultimately didn't like the sound or whatever have you. Well, I got news for you. A lot of these bass amps, especially if you've got a modeling amp, you can take and model that sound to how you like it and like that. It's not the bass's fault, you know. You can make the final output the way you want it by simply modeling it off your amp or pedals or effects boxes or whatever you use. I don't use any of that kind of stuff, but that's just because I'm old-fashioned and don't know what I'm doing. Come on, laugh. It's supposed to be funny. April Fool's Day and all that other stuff. But okay, you know, I'm just sitting here to tell you what I really want to say is this. You don't have to spend a small fortune to get a halfway decent playing bass. You really don't. Now, when I'm talking bass, and when I'm talking a good cheap price, I'm talking mostly stuff that's under $500, okay? Because you start getting up there in that above $500, you're starting to get towards $1,000, and God, you know, some of these basses, I've seen basses $10,000 and like that, you know, starting at $5 and going clear up to $10, $15, whatever have you. But I've compiled a list of 10 basses. You could do this yourself. You can just go to Google and up in the address type, you know, best cheap basses. I think that's what I did in the last 24 hours to compile this list here. You know, yeah, just do it. You know, whatever here. But the 10 that I've come up with, some of these I've had experience with, some of my own. I haven't. But the number one bass, this isn't in order of importance either. Number one bass is a Sterling by Music Man. And they've got a 5-string version and a 4-string version, but I'm no good at 5-string basses. Oh, that's another thing too. I recommend that you stick with a 4-string when you first start out. But it's a Sub-Ray, R-A-Y 4. You can get in one of those for $350. Okay, number 2. A Yamaha TRBX. Okay, you can get into that guy for $305. Or no, excuse me. No, well, no. I had that wrong. A Yamaha BX305. And you get into one of those for $400, okay? There, I got that right. Okay, number 3, a Squier Classic Vibe 60s Precision. This is a jazz bass, but it would look a lot like this. I think they got different colors. In fact, I know they did. But a Squier Precision bass, $385. You can get into those approximately. Okay, an Epiphone, and by the way, I do endorse these Squiers because I've been working with this bass here for a couple days since I got it, and by God, this thing has got some nice sound to it. It surprised me. Okay, next one is an Epiphone EB3. I used to have one of those. Not a bad bass. You can get into one of those for around a $400 bill. Okay, number 5, a Gretsch. A Gretsch G2220 Junior. A JRT Bass 2. Or no, a Jet Bass 2. Good God, I can't even talk today, man. That's my screwed up handwriting. Okay, you can get into one of them Gretches, a G2220 Junior Jet Bass 2 for around $300. Okay, now number 6. This one's going a little over the $500 limit that I've set, but an Epiphone Thunderbird Pro 4. Now I have an Epiphone Antique Special or whatever they call it. You know, I've got a real high-end Epiphone downstairs and a Thunderbird that I like quite a bit. Now, I give $700 for it, but on these Thunderbirds by Epiphone, the price is going to run you between $500 and $700. But it's a pretty decent bass, so I thought I'd throw that in. Number 7, an Ibanez Talman, a TMB 100. Okay, I don't know nothing about it, but I would probably recommend it because I fooled around with some Ibanez stuff, not bad. Get into that bass for $220 approximately. And that's got precision and jazz pickups, which is what I really prefer, you know, rather than just straight humbuckers or whatever have you. Okay, number 8, a Squier Infinity PJ bass. You can get into one of those for $230. Okay, number 9, a Dan Electro. A Dan Electro. Let me get that right. Dan Electro Longhorn bass. You can get into one of those for, good God, what do I got here? $500. Can't even, my handwriting's terrible here. Yeah, you can get into one of those for around $500. And number 10, a Hofner Ignition violin bass. It's a short scale bass. I'm not really recommending it, but hey, it's there. You can get into that for around $400. So you see, the field of cheap basses out there is quite large, actually. It's, you know, with these basses. And like I say, some of them are really not bad at all. They really aren't. Like this guy right here, and no, I don't work for Fender. I don't work for anybody. I don't make money off of YouTube. In fact, YouTube over the years has cost me money, to be quite frank with you, because I don't do the ad thing. I don't even promote myself, you know. And of course, a lot of you probably noticed I don't got comments open or anything like this, just because I don't want to spend the time fighting with trollers and haters. I'm not doing that. Simple as that. People, you know, I've got an email address out there published. If people want to write to me, fine. I'm real good at writing back. But I just thought I would throw this out here and this information to tell you that the one thing that I've learned over the years in buying basses and stuff like that, buying a better bass does not make you a better bass player. Buying an expensive bass, there's only one thing that's going to do it, and that's practice, practice, practice. I have to tell myself that all the time. But, you know, it is true that some basses are a lot more toneful than other basses, but believe it or not, in this cheap genre like this 70s jazz bass, this classic vibe, you know, like I say, it surprised me. This thing had a tone just as good as probably some of these $700 to $1,000 basses out there, you know. So that's really about the only thing I've got to say in this video. I'm sorry I screwed up some of that. I was all in kind of my writing wasn't very good, but I think you get the picture here. When you're starting out, I highly recommend that you don't buy an expensive bass. Simple as that. If you get ripped off, well, you get ripped off. But I have an idea that with some of these real expensive basses, you could get ripped off too. You know, so there's nothing worse than having buyer's remorse or buyer's regret or something, especially when it comes to these musical instruments, you know. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, happy April Fool's Day, and we'll see you on down the trail. Take care of yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, and adios, my friends. How do I get out of here real quick like?